Hello everyone. I wanted to solve this problem for you from the homework assignment, and it was one of these tangled innermost parentheses sort of problems where the authors are definitely trying to have you demonstrate that you can handle the order of operations in this nested parentheses situation as messy as they can make it. I'm going to solve this rather different than you'd see in most algebra textbooks or by most algebra teachers. So if you're uncomfortable with being shown things differently, you may want to turn off the video right now. But if you're interested in being pushed to grow your algebra knowledge base and see things from a different perspective, then listen on, because I'm going to solve this not from the inside out, but from the outside in. And I'm going to use two pieces of thinking to do that. And those pieces of thinking I'm going to run again over and over and over again. And let me illustrate that first piece of thinking with a subproblem. Now what we have here is patently obvious. Plus 8 minus 8 is equal to 0. What's not so obvious is why I've written it like this. And the reason is because I want to illustrate how to handle plus parentheses and minus parentheses. That's the thought that I'm going to bring to crack this problem open and solve it. Now, to show that, I'm going to rewrite the problem like this. And I think you'll agree with me, this looks much more algebraic. All I've done here is simply rewrite 8 in both cases as 3 terms. I've broken 8 up into 3 bits. Please notice that 5 plus 4 is 9 and 9 minus 1 is 8. And so the question I'm going to ask you here and now is, how do you handle plus parentheses in algebra? And how do you handle minus parentheses in algebra? Because that's a situation that will appear over and over again throughout the course. And so you might as well find a way to put that on autopilot, and that's what this problem is all about, or my solution of it. Okay, the way you handle plus parentheses is simple. You simply erase the parentheses and copy everything else. So in effect, this first part looks like this. Now I've stopped showing that plus 5 out front because this is the way we'd normally write it, but basically the parentheses simply vanished. Everything else stays the same. Minus parentheses, though, is a little bit different. And the way it's explained, and correctly so, is that there is a 1 right here. And you can think of this as being a multiplication, or distribution, of all of these terms, all 3 of these terms, by this -1, factor of -1. So you're going to multiply the first term by -1, this term, and this term. But here's the overarching simplifying thought. Multiplication by -1 is a sign changer. And once you know that, you don't even have to think about distribution. The way you handle minus parentheses is simply to toggle all the signs of the terms within those parentheses. The plus 5 will become a minus 5, the plus 4 will become a minus 4, the minus 1 will become a plus 1, and the parentheses themselves vanish. That looks like this. Just toggle the signs and get rid of the parentheses. That's how you handle minus parentheses. Now, I haven't violated any rules of algebra, so the left side should still equal 0. And let me just show that real quick. Notice that for every action, like plus 5, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So those two are going to go to 0. The plus 4 and the minus 4 are going to go to 0. The minus 1 and the plus 1 are going to annihilate. So everything vanishes on the left, and we're left with simply 0. The algebra, the technique I just showed you, is sound. And now let's take it and use it on this problem up above. And my first move is slightly unconventional. I've been telling you guys, at least in some of my online notes anyway, that you need to think in algebra of everything in a parentheses as being a single number. So what I'm going to do is just imagine everything in that box as being a single number. So I have 8x minus a single number is equal to 8x plus 7. If that was the case, your first move, if you had that problem, would be subtract 8x from both sides. And that's my first move here. And when I do that, when I subtract 8x from both sides, this is what I have. Now, where are we? Well, we're looking at minus parentheses. How do we handle minus parentheses? Well, it's simple. We just change the signs of all the terms in there. The key question here, how many terms are inside there? And that's that vision thing of seeing everything within parentheses as a single number. I submit to you that there are two terms within the outermost parentheses. Here they are. So, minus parentheses, the way I'm going to handle this is the 3x is going to go to a minus 3x. The minus parentheses, minus this single huge number here, is going to go to a plus single huge number. That looks like this. Notice the outermost parentheses have now vanished. And this thing is starting to get entangled, bit by bit, outside in. And here's something neat. We know how to handle plus parentheses here. We simply ignore the parentheses. And that's what I've done with my next clip. Simpler and simpler yet as we simplify. Now, once again, we have minus parentheses. And once again, I ask you, how many terms do you see in there? And I submit to you that there are actually two terms inside there. And I've underlined the two terms. And what's going to happen is the signs on those two terms are going to toggle. And when we do toggle them, we get this. The plus 5x goes to minus 5x, and the minus parentheses go to plus parentheses, and the outermost parentheses drop away. And lo and behold, look at this, we're dealing with plus parentheses. Simply ignore the parentheses and rewrite, and now we've completely untangled this thing, and we are dealing with a much simpler problem that is simply collecting like terms on the left and adding 1 to both sides. And I'll let you do that, but the idea there after you do that, the solution there is you get this. And of course, we don't like to show that coefficient in front of the x, so the answer we would box would look like this. Now, in the homework I asked you to actually solve and check, and I didn't take any points off if you didn't check. I took points off on the preceding problem, which also asked you to check. No sense in overkilling you on that, but when I do say check in the homework, I expect to see that. And I'm going to check this problem, but being lazy, I'm going to use Wolfram Alpha. Here it is. And notice that I've typed in the exact problem as it's shown. And I could have just done that and hit enter, but instead I put a keyword out in front here, solve. And what you do when you click that and submit that to Wolfram Alpha, what happens is you get this back. And notice the answer is 8 and it checks. And if you want to see some of the steps, you can click on this here, and Wolfram Alpha will tell you some of the moves it made to get to that solution, which is pretty cool. So there you go. I hope this helps, or didn't at least confuse, and I'll be talking to you soon with homework 2. Good luck!